Well, hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. Great to be with you. The left is now waging war on Elon Musk. That's not a secret. But the mainstream media is upping their attacks on Elon Musk, and they're doing it with fake news. I don't know if you saw this story in Politico, but it sent the interwebs into the stratosphere. The headline in Politico reads, Trump tells inner circle that Musk will leave soon. Now, here's the reality. Musk is set to leave May 30th. That's 5 months after his term as a temporary employee began. It is the end deadline for a temporary employee. That's May 30th. So he was always supposed to leave in the springtime. Yet Politico writes this headline that sends everybody going crazy. And then they add to it, the president is pleased with Elon Musk, but the decision comes as the tech mogul increasingly looks like a political liability. Are you kidding me? First off, Elon Musk is not a political liability. Two, President Trump is, I don't know if there's a better friend that President Trump has than Elon Musk. So what is this about? In my opinion, this article was to try to trick the left into thinking their attacks on Elon Musk, their attack on Tesla owners, their destruction of Teslas, their destruction of property, all of that, the massive protests, I would even call them riots, vandalism, domestic terrorism. The goal of this Politico article is to make you and make them think that that war is working and that they have been successful in forcing Elon out. I am here to tell you they are not successful in forcing Elon out at all. We'll talk about this in the podcast today. We'll go through some of Doge's findings, which are really unbelievable and stunning, and how much money he can save in this first 5 months, almost cutting our deficit in half, by the way. And then we will also talk about Trump's tariffs, because today is, of course, Liberation Day. I guess they're all Liberation Days now that this is finally happening. But before we start the show, let me tell you about my friends over at Energized Health. EnergizedHealth.com is where I want you to go. Why do I want you to go there? Because it is about cellular hydration. It is about getting healthy again. It is about making yourself healthy again. And you do it through intercellular hydration, making your organs like grapes, not raisins. There's a science behind how you do that. It's not just about pounding water. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks on the Energized Health system. No crazy supplements, medications, shots, none of that stuff. Just a sound plan that is simple and easy. 88-day program. I guarantee you can do it. I don't care what age you are, male, female, if you weigh 300 pounds and want to lose 200, or whether you were like me and just wanted to tighten it up and lose 10 or 15 pounds. This is for you. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. Learn about cellular hydration today. I promise you, you're going to love it. All right, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome, everybody. So the war on Elon Musk continues, clearly. You saw the headline. I pointed it out to you before. This is how they read it. President's pleased with Elon Musk, but the decision comes as the tech mogul increasingly looks like a political liability. The main headline basically says, where is it? Here we go. Whoops. Not that. What's going on? Trump tells Inner Circle that Musk will leave soon. Again, I'm here to tell you that this is fake news. And it is par for the course for the fake news media. They are beside themselves that Elon Musk right now is exposing the waste, fraud, and abuse inside the federal government. And he specifically is now starting to target lawmakers, wealthy ones. And I think some Republicans will get caught up in this. I think this soundbite is what sent Politico over the edge.
I'm trying to connect the dots of how did they become rich while earning. How'd they get $20 million if they're earning $200,000 a year? It sounds. Nobody can explain that. So something's, yeah, we're going to try to figure it out and certainly stop it from happening.
So how did they become rich is what Elon says. Specifically talking about these members of Congress that make just under $200,000 a year that have net worth of 10, 12, 15, 40, 60, $80 million. People like Nancy Pelosi, net worth well over $100 million. Where is the money coming from? This is what everybody wants to know. And so, yes, it is about cutting the size of government. It is about making our government more efficient, but it's also about finding the corruption. So I will tell you that this is how MSNBC goes after Elon. And I'm telling you, folks, the main goal of this now isn't even so much about attacking Elon. It's about making those on the left feel good, like they are victorious, like their protests and riots are working. They point to Wisconsin. I would point to something else. Listen.
The result in Wisconsin is a huge, huge defeat for Elon Musk, who, as we saw, personally went full cheesehead.
I think that Trump is going to find that it's a little bit more difficult to scrape Elon Musk off his shoes because Elon Musk likes the limelight. He likes the celebrity. He likes being co-president.
Yes, well, he likes the limelight. But Wisconsin and that Supreme Court victory where we had the liberal go in as the next Supreme Court justice was not about Elon Musk. Democrats did a fabulous job of running the abortion campaign. In Wisconsin, it was all about abortion. So Democrats do not take too much away from what happened in Wisconsin. This is Frank Luntz.
Elon Musk spent millions and millions of dollars. Could that race be read as an indictment of his role in this administration? Because Wisconsin has had razor-thin margins over the last few elections.
It could be. I think the Democrats should read too much into it, saying, aha, we found the secret sauce. We're going to change things.
Yeah. Democrats are reading too much into it because it wasn't their attacks on Elon. It was their push for abortion. And that worked in a state like Wisconsin. That's not going to work in a state like Texas. That's not going to work in a state like Florida. Red states. And Florida used to be a swing state, not anymore. The abortion argument is a model for the Democrats. I'm not going to lie to you. And it is probably a good argument for the Democrats and that it works in many cases. In this case in Wisconsin, it most certainly worked. I do not think this had anything to do with Elon. I think when you think about Elon and what he's doing, you have to say to yourself, we're making America greater again. Those on the left see the savings, and they can't fault Elon Musk for going after them. This was a Doge volunteer spelling out some of the amazing savings.
And we found that there were just about 5+ million of them that came to the country as illegals, were giving various forms of parole or allowed in the country, and they got through an automatic system, Social Security numbers, so they get into our benefit systems. And we tracked that through and found that they were on the benefit programs. And just because we were curious, we then looked to see if they were on the voter rolls. And we found in a handful of cooperative states that there were thousands of them on the voter rolls and that many of them had voted.
You see what the scheme is? Do you see now why they want Elon gone? You've got him going after the leaders and the corruption and them lining your pockets. And then his team is exposing the big scam, the election fraud scam, the Social Security fraud scam, that many of the millions of Social Security numbers that weren't coming back to normal people were coming back to illegal aliens. And that, as you heard, this Antonio Gracias say many of them had voted. This is what the open borders were about. It was to steal America right out from underneath us. Get them on the government dole, get them Social Security numbers, get them signed up to vote, and Republicans would never win another election again. That's what they were trying to do to us. And anybody that thinks that's not what they were trying to do to us, think again. This was the scheme. And once you expose the scheme like that, You are enemy number one. They want you dead. Chris Coons here. This is on with Fox News. And if you can believe it, this is going to be his argument to why we shouldn't believe Elon Musk. That he's lying about what he's finding.
What have Democrats done? What did Joe Biden's administration do to find the waste, fraud, and abuse in Social Security to try to shore up this important agency? What did they do? Can you tell me?
Sure. So first, Martha, you are presuming widespread waste, fraud, and abuse in Social Security. You haven't offered any credible evidence to support that. I don't believe what DOJ says about virtually any federal agency. But I will believe what the GAO says or the Inspector General.
So he doesn't believe it. He somehow says he's not going to buy what they're finding. Literally, you had the Department of Labor give back $1.4 billion back to the federal government. Was that funny money? Did they not actually find this money just lying around? Do you think this Antonio Gracias is lying about the Social Security numbers? By the way, folks, 10 million, what's the number? 10 million Social Security numbers have been now listed as dead. 10 million. The 10 million Social Security numbers were belonging to people that were 120 years and older. They have now confirmed they are deceased. They are dead. They say they have 2 million more Social Security numbers to go that are over 120 years old to list them as deceased on the Social Security voter rolls. 10 million with 2 million more to go. You think we're lying about that? You think Elon is lying about that? I don't think so. This is Elon and his team with Brett Baer.
Well, I think we will have accomplished most of the work required to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion within that time frame.
So in that time frame, 130 days. And the process is a report at some point, at 100 days? Or?
Not really a report. We are cutting the waste and fraud in real time. So every day that passes, our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
Wait. How many billion a day? How many?
Our goal is to reduce the waste and fraud by $4 billion a day, every day, 7 days a week. And so far, we are succeeding.
$4 billion a day, every day, 24/7, 7 days a week. He believes by May 30th, when he is set to step down as his temporary employee status provides for, he will have saved the federal government $1 trillion. That is halfway to cutting our deficit. That is halfway to balancing the federal budget. We were told it couldn't be done. We were told we needed new laws. Just as on the border, we were told it couldn't be done. You couldn't secure the border without more money and more laws and more. All it took was a new president and a new president surrounding himself with the right team. That's it. Now, you want to hear some of the findings of DOJ, why they're getting to the point of cutting $4 billion a day? I'm going to play you those here in a second, but let me tell you about my friends over at NFN8. This company, get20now.com is the website, is providing so many of my Stinchfield listeners and viewers 20% annualized interest on their investment paid out monthly. If you want cash flow, you want to make 20% on your investment, I offered up a sizable investment. I now get paid this interest back every month like clockwork. I think the way I got it set up, it's paid on the 25th of every month. And every the 25th of the month, it gets deposited into my bank account. I don't have employees. I don't have overhead. I don't have to pay rent. I don't have to do anything. I make the investment with NFN8, and they pay me. Now up to 20% interest on your money annualized. It can't be beat. They're mining Bitcoin in an industrialized fashion, huge warehouses of these Bitcoin miners. They mine the Bitcoin, they sell it on the open market the next day. Not a lot of risk there. They're buying the electricity really, really cheap, and they can mine Bitcoin cheaper than most anybody else can. And for that, they pay you up to 20% interest on your money, annualized, paid monthly. Get20now.com is the website. Get20now.com. They've lived up to their promises to me all along the way. I've been very happy with them. Give them a shout. Get to the website. Answer their call. Take their call. Call them back when they call you. You don't want to miss it. The only thing you have to lose is money here, okay? And when I say the only thing you have to lose is money, by not signing up. By not signing up, all right? It's an easy gig. Make your investments, sit back, and watch the money come in every month. Get20now.com. All right. So Elon goes on with Brett Baer, and he goes on with his team. You saw just a little bit of that. I want to play some of it of just the savings to show you the savings that he is finding.
And I'll give you one example is at Social Security, one of the first things we learned is that they get phone calls every day of people trying to change direct deposit information. So when you want to change your bank account, you can call Social Security. We learned 40% of the phone calls that they get are from fraudsters.
40% of the phone calls they get to Social Security are from fraudsters trying to change their direct deposit. Now, what do you think happens? My guess is once they realize it's fraud, the money's gone, and then they resend the money to the right person. Now you're out twice the money. 40% of the time you're out twice the money by my calculations. Maybe they catch it sometimes, even if it's 10% of the time where you change the account and it's going to a fraudster and you're losing money. These are billions and billions and billions of dollars. And yet we were allowing this to happen. Is it not amazing to you that for decades, I think we knew it was going on and nobody did anything about it until now? I think it took a president like President Trump to say, you know what? I don't give a rat's ass what anybody thinks. We're going to go make it right. I don't care what the deep state thinks. We're going to cut the size of government, and we're going to do it by decreasing our costs, decreasing the waste, fraud, and abuse, and then we're going to increase revenue by instituting some tariffs. And, of course, what you have are a bigger tax pool coming in when all these companies bring their manufacturing here. We'll talk about the tariffs in just a bit, but here's a little more on this Social Security.
You've got overstaffing. A good example of overstaffing would be the IRS has got 1,400 people who are dedicated to provisioning laptops and cell phones. So if you join the IRS, you get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year.
Do you hear what he's saying? 1,400 people to hand out cell phones and laptops just in the IRS alone? I mean, that number is stunning. And here you have business guys coming in and looking at this stuff and saying, hey, this doesn't make any sense. You don't need, what were the final numbers here? I'm going to play it again, okay? Because listen to him.
You get a laptop and a cell phone, you're provisioned. So if each of those IRS officers or employees provisioned 2 employees per day, you could provision the entire IRS in a little more than a month. So 12 times a year.
12 times a year you could do this. What do they need 1,400 employees to do this for? And people wonder why they're losing their job. They're losing their job because they are not needed. So it's not just Elon Musk that's finding the waste, fraud, and abuse. The cabinet secretaries have been tasked with going into these agencies and finding the waste, fraud, and abuse inside these agencies. Now, Lee Zeldin goes in, and the first thing he finds, $4 million spent on an EPA museum. To what? Push propaganda? An EPA museum. Does anybody really want to go to this? And really all it looks like when you look at it behind him here, I'm going to show you, it looks like a bad book report.
Which was built and curated by the Biden administration with $4 million in taxpayer dollars. As if this wasn't enough of a price tag to fill a room the size of an apartment. This shrine to environmental justice and climate change cost the American taxpayer $600,000 to operate annually. This agency has been spending $123,000 on cleaning, $207,000 for security, $54,000 on maintenance, and an additional $54,000 on storage.
You hear these numbers for an EPA museum? All of it makes my head spin. And all of it says, when is it going to end? And, in the Rumble chat, Alaskan Girl says, now let's put these thieves in jail. They should be easy. That should be easy. Cash, when are the arrests coming? Kash Patel will get to the point of having arrests. I do believe, ultimately, this will lead us to some accountability. I just don't know how much accountability in the end. It should lead to some, though. Because when you look at what they did to President Trump with the Russia collusion hoax, with all of the impeachments, with the spying on his campaign, what was that? That was an attempted coup on this country. When you look at what they did to him when he got out of office, going in and searching his Mar-a-Lago home, trying to bring him up on charges in Georgia, going after him every way, shape, or form. Why? It was an attempted coup. They were trying to keep him out of office because they were afraid of this very thing. I have come to the conclusion that we would not be here if it wasn't for Trump. I'm not going to say losing. If it wasn't for the Democrats stealing the last election. They steal the last election. We needed President Trump to get so mad, to get so angry, for him to go in and want retribution. And in many respects, I know he's backing off of this term retribution, but what do you think Doge is? It really is retribution. Think about all the NGOs. USAID is just one entity that was sending money through to these NGOs. There are many others. On the Real America's Voice show tonight, we're going to talk about some of those NGOs. There's a new report out by the Heritage Foundation, which is eye-opening. We'll go through it. But these NGOs were funding. We're funding the pockets of Democrat politicians. I'm convinced it was all a giant money laundering scheme. I really am. That is what I am. What I was convinced about here. Before I talk about the tariffs, I want to tell you about Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/grant 972-PATRIOT. Patriot Mobile works with the 3 networks. So you can choose which network you want to be on. That means they have a performance guarantee, because if one network's not working for you, you can switch to the other network. You don't have to switch your whole cell phone. They'll give you up to $500 per device to switch your contract. So switching is super easy. 100% U.S.-based customer service. They're based here in the United States. They dub themselves America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. There's a reason they provide the cell phone service for my phone, because I love these guys. They are Stinchfield's Army official communication provider. PatriotMobile.com/grant. 972-PATRIOT is the number. 972-PATRIOT. Use the promo code GRANT for free activation, and you'll get a free month service. And I told you, they'll give you money to switch. They'll make sure they cover some of that cost. So call Patriot Mobile today. Don't wait anymore. Stop funding the left and start funding the right. Do it with Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/grant. 972-PATRIOT. Tell them Grant Stinchfield sent you and use that promo code GRANT. All right. President Trump, Liberation Day. He announces his tax cuts, and boy, what a great day it was.
Likewise to all of the foreign presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, ambassadors, and everyone else who will soon be calling to ask for exemptions from these tariffs, I say, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate your currencies. They manipulate their currencies like nobody can even believe, which is a bad, bad thing and very devastating to us, and start buying tens of billions of dollars of American goods.
So let me explain how easy this is for foreign countries. 2 things can happen. You move your production to the United States. You pay 0 tariffs. Now you're hiring American workers. Now you're buying American products. Now you're in this country, and you got the golden goose right at your feet. You're manufacturing in the greatest nation in the world. Do that. The other side to this is you lower your tariffs. I mean, you should see the list of tariffs when you run through the numbers on this. And I have some of them for some of the big ones that we trade with. All right. When you run through the numbers, we're not tariffing them at the same rate they tariff us. President Trump says we're going to do a fair reciprocal tariff, meaning half of what they tariff us. We were basically tariffing them nothing. So China tariffs us American goods 67%. 67%. So we're going to tariff Chinese goods 34%. The EU, 39%. We're going to tariff them 20%. Taiwan, 64%. We're going to tariff them 32%. This is fair to me. Now, there's a minimum tariff in here, a minimum tariff of 10%. Everybody across the board, no matter where you were, you're going to get tariffed at 10%. Why is that? That's to make sure we don't get China sending goods through another country where the tariffs are low and then they're making an end run into America. So every country is going to be tariffed 10%. But China right now could get their tariff lowered to 10%. They lower our tariffs to 10%. Everywhere across the board, that needs to happen. Now, the White House released a video to show you what is happening here because of President Trump's moves. And I want to play some of it for you.
Agenda. Breaking news, Apple announced it's going to work with Foxconn to build a server factory in Texas by 2026.
The company says it is now planning to invest $500 billion in the U.S. economy.
The CEO of SoftBank pledging to invest $100 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years.
This is President Trump delivering on the promise he made to the American people on the campaign trail.
The idea is come to America, build greatness in America, build for the American customers.
So a lot of companies coming in, a lot of companies making multi-billion dollar investments. Why are they doing it here? Because it's the greatest workforce on earth, the greatest consumer group on earth. You know, Americans are the greatest consumers in the world. Americans have money for the most part. Americans are eager to buy stuff. In fact, Americans are eager to buy junk. I look at Amazon. I live in a Dallas neighborhood. The houses are fairly close together. I could walk out on the sidewalk. I could see, 4 or 5, 6, probably 6, 7 houses I could see just from standing on the sidewalk. I promise you I'll look. At least half of those houses are going to have Amazon packages on their front step. What's in those packages? Junk. Probably junk from China. Probably. But we could be making that junk here. We could be selling that junk from here. And no tariffs on it. And you can't beat that. So that's the goal here, as President Trump points out.
Foreign nations will finally be asked to pay for the privilege of access to our market, the biggest market in the world. We're right now the biggest market in the world.
You know, we are the biggest market in the world. And I think we engaged in charity for decades. So think about after World War I and World War II ends. The entire world economy is struggling. And America says, we will send our goods over there and you can charge tariffs on them and we'll take your goods for free. And the reason why we'll let you sell your goods in the United States for free is because we want you, the rest of the world, to rebuild. We're going to help the global economy rebuild. Well, for 7, 8 decades, that's what has been going on. We allowed entry into this market for nothing. We let the global economy rebuild until the point the global economy started taking advantage of America. So the global economy says, you know what, it's great we send our stuff to America, but we're going to stick it to them. We're going to tariff them out the wazoo. And, you know, when Biden left office, the trade deficit was $1.2 trillion, which means for everything we send out, we took in another $1.2 trillion. We imported $1.2 trillion more than we exported. That's a problem. Now, it is true that America is a huge country, one of the largest on earth, right? So we consume a lot of stuff. So we make a lot of stuff for ourselves. We still do. But the total imports only amounts to about 15% of our goods in America. That's it. So we're making a lot of stuff for ourselves, but that 15% plays a big role. So I don't think you're going to see massive inflation. I think you're going to see inflation of certain things go up. You want to buy a Mercedes now, and if they're not building it in America, the price of your Mercedes is going to go up. But I don't think overall you're going to see the price of everything just go up because of tariffs, because only about 15% of everything is what we import into this country. Now, wouldn't it be great if we increased our manufacturing? We got so great that they lowered the tariffs in other countries and we started sending stuff overseas, and now we're making stuff for us. We're making stuff for them. Oh, my Lord. This economy would absolutely boom. It would boom. So this clip I have for you is on CNN. This is the leftists freaking out about Liberation Day. I'll play it for you.
This is across-the-board tariffs that somehow Donald Trump does out of either spite or who he's upset with.
His price-raising, economy-breaking tariffs.
Republicans should talk about it the way old Republicans used to talk about it. These are taxes.
But when he calls it Liberation Day, it could be Obliteration Day.
This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day.
I don't think it is Recession Day. I think we're in a purge session where we're cleaning up this economy. Okay? That's what I think is happening right now. And that's what President Trump is doing. Will it be a little painful? Of course. The market was down, I don't know when it opened today. It was down 11. I think it went down to 1,400 points. It's a big drop for the Dow. But I think it's going to be painful, but we're going to be okay in the end. Just give it some time. I'm not freaking out about my portfolio. I'm really not. Because I do see what President Trump sees, and that's a golden horizon. So I want you to look at it this way, folks. We move from one economic era to a new economic era, and it starts today. The golden age of America is beginning, and it's not the end, it is the beginning, Mr. President.
So 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charged anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half.
It's charging them half. This is what I was just talking about. So what's the big deal about that? Why is everybody free? Listen to Caroline Levitt explain some of the tariffs that we have to Canada.
If you look at the unfair trade practices that we have, 50% from the European Union on American dairy. You have a 700% tariff from Japan on American rice. You have a 100% tariff from India on American agricultural products. You have
700% on rice. Why? Because Japan uses a lot of rice. They don't want American rice in there. So they put a huge tariff on it, so we can't send it over. Well, that's hurting America. And then Japan wants to send us products and not put any and we not put any tariff on it? And quite frankly, it's bullshit.
Nearly a 300% tariff from Canada on American butter and American cheese. This makes it virtually impossible for American products to be imported into these markets.
Yeah. So you can't export butter, cheese from America into Canada. There's no way. Canada's made it virtually financially unfeasible to make that happen. This is Ontario Premier Doug Ford, okay? And he's not a nice guy. Let me just put it that way.
You have tariffs on a whole number of products.
That's right. And we'd be willing to take those off tomorrow if he took all the tariffs off. We are not the problem. Andrew, do you know the problem is? China's the problem.
All right, so you'd be willing to take those tariffs off if Trump takes the tariffs off. Well, guess what? Leading up to yesterday, there were no tariffs. You didn't take them off then. I think presidents since Eisenhower have been waiting for the phone call. When are you going to take the tariffs off? Nobody's ever taken the tariffs off, so now we put them on. Now you'll take them off? Well, put your money where your mouth is. Now President Trump has issued tariffs on Canada. Let's see. Take the tariffs off, and let's see where it goes. Here he is again with his tough talk.
You know, to the president, I'm a different type of cat. I'll fight tooth and nail. I'm not going to roll over and get annihilated. I'll fight right to the death. Not that there's going to be any deaths, but, you know, the economy. I will go out. He has no idea. He has absolutely no idea.
Hey, tough guy. You think you're going to tussle with the most powerful man on the face of the earth? You think you're going to tussle with the United States of America? You got like 8 people that live in Canada. You're going to go up against us, the greatest nation in the world, and think you're going to come out of that ahead? I don't care how hard you fight. You don't stand a chance against us. And the bottom line is you need America far more than America needs Canada. Okay? So the jig is up for you too. That goes for Mexico. Secure your borders. Stop pushing fentanyl into this country. Stop tariffing our American goods out the wazoo. And maybe we'll start to think about evening up the playing field. But until that happens, it's a new day because there's a new sheriff in town. So don't talk tough against our new sheriff because our new sheriff is literally, you want to talk about fighting to the death? Our new sheriff's a freaking killer, man. Not that anybody's going to actually die. He's a killer when it comes to this economic stuff. And he'll crush you, Canada. So tread very, very lightly. Very lightly. Now, do you think any of this is new? None of this is new for the United States. None of this is new, certainly for President Trump. President Trump talked about this on the campaign trail. So one of the things that I'm wondering is, I don't understand why the markets reacted the way they did today. Let me just see. We're live now, coming up on 12 Central Time. Let me see where the Dow is now. It's down 1,300 points. So really, not doing well. S&P 500 coming up on noon Central, down almost 4%. So that's a drop, man. It's a 4% drop there. The Dow percentage-wise is a 3% drop. Have we had worse? Yes. Did I think it would rebound a little bit today? Yes. Here's why. You knew the tariffs were coming. I think these tariffs are less than I expected. When you show half of what they're tariffing us, to me, it looks like we're giving them a good deal. And because we knew it was coming, I thought this would have all been discounted in the markets. It would have already been sold off. So I'm a little surprised it's not coming back yet, but I do believe it will. Tomorrow is Friday. I believe it's a buy day tomorrow. Mark my words on this. I'm not giving investment advice. It's not my deal. But I think tomorrow, get in early on the open. We'll see how it works out. Just my own thoughts, not for advice. Obviously, I don't give investment advice. But anyway, Trump had been talking about this on the campaign trail. He was talking about this long before that. Look, this is old Trump from a long time ago.
And yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And, hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
That was President Trump on Oprah, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 90s. So this is nothing new for President Trump. He's been telling us he was going to do this for a very, very long time. Hey, folks, I want to tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company. I love these guys. One, they're patriots. Two, have you seen this? This is the field kit. You can get it going to twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. If you don't have prescription medications on hand in your repertoire of emergency preparedness, you need food, you need ammo, you need water, you need a power supply, and you also need prescription medications. This field kit is very, very cool. Let me open it up here. It's got all kinds of prescription medications in here. There's steroids in here, right here. There's an EpiPen in here. That's important. You have kids, especially. Somebody gets stung by a bee out at a pool party or something. You could save a life with that. All in a waterproof case. So, all in a waterproof case. There we go. That's the Wellness Company field kit. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. If you can't afford that one, that was a little pricier than this one. This one has 8 prescription medications. Both have ivermectin in them, by the way. This has 8 of the most common, most needed prescription medications, including ivermectin in here, antivirals, antiparasitics, antibiotics. Get one of these kits. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off, and you'll be glad you did. God forbid you need it and don't have it, right? That's the worst case scenario. So twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT. All right, I played this before, but I'm going to play it again. The Democrat Party is imploding, and there's some evidence that the Democrat Party is imploding. Just look at CNN here.
Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling.
Folks, look at that. All voters, 68% of all voters disapprove of the Democrat Party. And they want to go after Trump and Elon and kick Teslas. They're on the wrong side of this, man. You got guys like Charlemagne, who goes on the Daily Show. This is the morning show radio guy. And he's pissed at the Democrat Party, not for the reasons I am, but listen to Charlemagne here.
It's not my job to say that any particular candidates need to be primaried and thrown out of office, but Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer need to be primaried and thrown out of office.
Yeah. Now, he has a different take of why. He says they're not fighting hard enough. He says, look at Jasmine Crockett. Now, that's a stupid thing to say. But Jeffries and Schumer, again, fighting Elon Musk every step of the way when I thought everyone wanted to get a more efficient government, not Democrats. They love government so much. They want it big. They want it bloated. They want to steal from you. That's the bottom line here in this. Here's Chuck Schumer.
Consumer confidence is at its worst since Donald Trump's first term. Outlook for the economy is at a 12-year low. Household debt is on the...
All right, now watch this. You're going to see more people push this idea that the economy is about to collapse. I'm here to tell you it is not about to collapse whatsoever.
Right.
But I want to reassure you that everything is going to be okay. I want to, but I can't.
Thinking about the economy. Voters are thinking about their jobs.
It's clear now that China is going to own the post-carbon economy as a result of this administration.
Inflation going down, stock market going up. It's completely inverted now.
They're all know-it-alls who always get it wrong. And I'm here to tell you, they always get it wrong. In January of 2023, you had the stock market that was down anywhere between 8 and 12%, depending on looking at what index, it was down up to 36%. Right now, the stock market is down 12 to 15%, okay, depending on what index. In January of 2023, the stock market was down 30-something%. And they covered for Joe Biden. They really did. This is them covering for him.
But we're not expecting this to last over years, probably a few quarters with flanked by some quarters of weakness. But hopefully by the time we get to next year, we will be in a much better position in terms of the economy.
All right. Isn't that funny? Because that's the mainstream media covering for Joe Biden. So as President Trump said, and this is what I want you all to listen to very, very carefully.
Never forget, every prediction our opponents made about trade for the last 30 years has been proven totally wrong. They were wrong about NAFTA. They were wrong about China. They were wrong about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been a disaster if I didn't terminate it. If I didn't terminate that, United Auto Workers, you would have had no jobs in this country. You would have had no jobs. It was all going to other countries.
It's true. President Trump, again, very, very right on that. And again, I can show you the numbers. Now, when you think about, this is important, when you think about the S&P 500, okay, there are 7 big companies that make up 35% of the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 is 503 companies now, but 7 companies make up 35% of it. You're looking at Amazon, NVIDIA. I'm going to have to go by memory. Amazon, NVIDIA, Berkshire Hathaway. Tesla was close to being in there. Apple is in there. NVIDIA is in there. Those are some of the companies that make that up. Now, here's the real crazy thing. When you look at the S&P 500, here, Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, and Alphabet, Broadcom, and Tesla are right there with it too. When you look at the S&P 500, which is always used as a barometer of where the economy is, do you know that 88% of the S&P 500 is owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street? 88%. Now, the S&P 500 makes up like 0.00002% of American businesses in this country. So it's not a good barometer of where our economy is headed. So do not believe it when you look at the S&P 500. Now, I understand your stock portfolio and your 401ks are tied to it. But don't think it is a real true measure of the economy. It is not. And the fact that you have 3 companies that own 88% of this. Now, when these 3 companies, Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, they often use algorithmic trading platforms. So do the big banks. What does that mean? 44% of all trades now taking place on the stock market are algorithmic trading, which means the computer bot doesn't care whether you're good to your employees or whether you have a good product or what the outlook looks like. All it does is trade patterns. So if it can make money by selling the stock short, it's going to make money that way. If it can make money going long, it's going to make, it doesn't care. These are robots. It's just trading the algorithmic pattern. There's no loyalty to where we want our stock market to go. It's all about money, and it's all about using trading bots, and the trading bots drive each other. So none of this anymore is a good indication of where our economy is, and I'll leave you with this. The stock market today has 50% fewer publicly traded companies on it than it did in the 1990s. So don't tell me the stock market is the barometer of where our economy is headed. It's not a good barometer. I understand it is tied to your financial future. But in the end, everything evens out. So just have some faith and be calm. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today on Stinchfield. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget my website. Let me put it up on the screen for you. GrantStinchfield.com. GrantStinchfield.com. Stinchfield 1776 is the website for, my social media address on just about every platform. GrantStinchfield.com. Sign up for the email list there. You can watch the podcast there. If you're watching on any platform, like the podcast, subscribe. If you're on Rumble, subscribe to the podcast. And I'm grateful to all of you. Stinchfield's Army rolls because of you. We'll see you on the Real America's Voice show tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Thanks for watching, everybody.